allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We made it past the smelly hallway, so we apologize for that. Quick reminder to please silence your cell phones, which I just did myself. Our first order of business, public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfield-me.gov. There are still vacancies on several boards and committees. To apply, visit the town office or town website for the appointment application. We have still needs for Board of Assessment Review, 3 people. Environmental Committee is still looking for 1 person. Land Use Board of Appeals, 3 people. And the Charter Review Committee, still 1 person. Lawrence Public Library, registration is now open for our second Jigsaw Puzzle Challenge. 6 teams of 2, 500-piece puzzles. 2 hours to be held on March 21st. Please contact the library for more information. Pie Day, fun on Saturday, March 14th in the Children's Department, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Drop in. Talk with Randy Liberty about his new book, Liberty's Prison, on April 25th at 10:30 a.m. Second order of business, public hearings, we have none. Third order of business, public comments. These will be limited to 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request an opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfield-me.gov by 4 p.m. day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time. Do I have any members of the public that would like to speak at this time or reserve time for anything on the further in the agenda? Max?
I just want to reserve time for when we discuss the building committee's recommendation.
Yep. Anybody else? Seeing none. Fourth order of business.
I thought we had a written comment in our emails.
I don't think there was anything in there that needed to be addressed. We did get an email. Michelle, did you respond to the email?
I have not responded to Mrs. Dyer yet, but my plan is to do so because it was addressed, this one was addressed to me and the info box, and it was just CC'd to council. It wasn't addressed to council, I didn't think. Let me pull it back.
As well. I got a copy of that, too. We got a copy.
Yep.
Yeah, because it was CC'd.
Yep.
You guys were just CC'd on that one. So usually when it comes to the council, it's addressed to the council. Yeah, this one was just addressed to me, but I haven't responded yet.
So we can talk
Over
about
now,
it.
if
Since
you
you
want.
brought it up, we'll talk about it. We don't have any old business at this point to discuss. There's still actions on one of the questions that were brought to our attention in the email.
I just brought it up. Do you want me to read it?
Please.
It says, "Good morning, a couple of things. I'm not sure if the notification system is working because I went to the website and saw that the agenda was posted but never received a message saying that it was on the town's website, so we're following up on that. The town manager's report has not been posted for March. If you go to the town manager's page where the town manager's report lives, there's a banner there in red, I think, and it says that from that point, the date forward from the last posting, that the manager's reports will now be found in the council's agenda postings, because that way the document doesn't live in more than one location, because it already goes in that packet. And then it says, "I was thinking about old business and have the following to ask about, whatever happened with Acme Drive." My follow-up to that was simply going to be that that item was left in Kevin Violet's hands at that time. He has not returned. And recordings of meetings. This has been discussed since last summer and nothing has been done. What happened to the meeting that was recorded? My understanding was that this meeting had to be uploaded because it was recorded. No meetings have to be uploaded anywhere other than we have to maintain them. Nothing requires you to post them anywhere. So the one meeting that we had the AI recording at was emailed to us. It is part of our records, but it's not anything that was going to be uploaded to the website at that time. So you decided what to do. And then that's it. It just says, "Thank you, Bonnie and Al Dyer."
Can I add on to that?
Please.
In the email, they talked about the recordings. I know Councilor Townsend recorded one of our environmental committee, but we couldn't hear anything. And then I had brought it up at the last council meeting that I had a camera, and I was going to try that at the next committee meeting, but I was sick. I didn't make it to that meeting, but I did bring the camera last night and recorded the meeting that we had last night
Yep.
for
250th
for the
celebration.
250th celebration. I have not had a chance to review that and see the quality because I was preparing for today's meeting. So once I get a look at it and see how it is, the quality, if that's something we can move forward, I'll share that info. So I'll have something at the next meeting, pro-go, and then if it's something that we can tweak on, and we have another committee meeting in between now and the next council meeting, I'll get with that committee lead, and then we'll see if we can fine tune that process.
Thank you. So we're a work in process on recording meetings that Crossroads is not able to do for us. So that answers that question. Okay, fourth order of business, town manager and committee reports.
All right. So on February 28th, I attended the Budget Committee meeting here with most of the council. March 3rd, I met with KSTD regarding our new budget allocation. We will have a $60,000 plus increase, which may result in the need to raise sewer rates. As we work on the sewer budget and work through that process, there'll be more to come on that. Also attended the Economic Community Development meeting, attended the Environmental Committee meeting. On March 4th, attended the Building Committee meeting. And then for some updates, at the last meeting, you had discussed the NIMS training, the Emergency Management Services training. I did follow up with the fire chief on that. Currently, the federal website is down because of the shutdown, but we will continue to look for that information. We believe you'll be able to, you can take that right online. We're not aware of anybody offering an in-person course at this time, but it may be something that we look into hosting as well. But until that website comes back up, we're kind of stuck. So, and then also, I've been working on congressional direct spending grants. This would be for public drinking water expansion, and currently the cost match of 20% is proving to be a barrier for us, but I'm still working on that process until the deadline next week. So, and that's it for me.
So just to follow up on NIMS, I believe 2 councilors already have it.
Yeah.
So it would just be myself, Councilor Kitchen, Councilor Townsend that need it. Okay. Thank you. Committee reports, Councilor Thibodeau, Economic Development.
Well, we met the first Tuesday in March. Questions that were raised in February were answered and discussed. Next month, we will begin formulating our recommendations based on information available to us. The downtown plan is in the final stages of the first draft. Hopefully, and the plan itself will be ready for presentation in April to the council.
Great, thank you. Councilor Townsend, anything?
The Environmental Committee met on March 3rd. The primary focus of that meeting was to review our letters and our comments to the Appropriations Committee, looking at LD 1111. And so at this point, Senator Scott Sierra was in attendance to that meeting. It seems to be probably sitting on the table right now, but without much in the way of support for it to push it through. We have all sent letters representing both the committee and ourselves to the Appropriations Committee, as well as talking to other people in government, but have not really heard much more from that. It seems to kind of end there. So not getting much in the way of anybody picking up the item and championing it. So in Augusta. So it's a little disappointing. That's actually what we're looking at. If that could pass, LD 1111 would be actually used for starting the first phase, potentially of a potential drinking water plan, but also would be really helpful as a matching grant fund, just like what our manager Llewellyn was talking about. Because if we had that, we could actually double our, we could actually make significant increases in available funding because we could get the CDS grants. So it'd be nice. We'll still keep working at it, but I'm not hopeful at the moment, and I'm kind of disappointed. So,
Thank you. Councilor Lawrence. Building committee.
Okay, the building committee met on March 4th to review the findings of the RFP, and we came up with a decision on the RFP, and a presentation will be given tonight during the line item, and our next meeting will be after all that information's done.
Okay, you guys done a ton of work, thank you. Nothing on ice rink, we haven't met yet, but the 250th celebration, we did meet last night. We had a full house, so it was very exciting, very informal, but we got a lot of information out. So we've set some dates, July 10th and 11th. Took some decent notes, have to work with Michelle on making sure we're covered insurance-wise, the amount of things that we want to do. That committee will meet again on April 14th at 6:30 here in council chambers, as long as that's available. I haven't confirmed that yet. Michelle, do you know if that's available?
The council chambers is, yes, I checked
Okay,
this morning.
so that's what the next date will be. We want to finalize everything at that point. We did settle on locations. Community Center here will host a craft fair on Saturday morning from 10 to 4.
10 to 4, yes.
Some other vendors as well, maybe food or things, maybe possibly a show and shine in the morning outside the community center. Mill Island Park will host kids events. We'll work out logistics with Public Works, Fire and Police, but that will be noon to 6 roughly. And then Memorial Park, Friday night, we will have music, followed hopefully by a parade, and we're still working on the fireworks phase of things, but we're thinking a glow ride parade. The theme will be Americana and glow. And then Saturday, we'll have more music in the park throughout the day. We have a few bands and DJs that are pretty much slotted in, and we'll finalize all of that at our next meeting in April and get out and make this happen. So it was really exciting. We had a lot of fun. There was a lot of people in attendance, and we will need a lot more volunteers. So if that's something anybody is looking to help with, our counselors are pretty much heading that as far as donations, sponsors, the whole gamut. But we'll need volunteers from anything from crossing guards to possibly transportation and making sure we keep it a safe event. So I'll have more in April. I think that's it for committees. Next up, fifth order of business, consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 26-31, ordered that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting 2026-05 held on February 25th, 2026. Item 26-32, ordered that the Town Council hereby approves the Treasurer's Warrant number 108 in the amount of $562,149.63 to include but not limited to MSAD number 49 March allocation, employee health insurance, motor vehicle fees, and Kennebec water.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lawrence, second by Councilor Townsend. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous, 5-0. Sixth order of discussion, old business, to discuss the EMS timeline. Michelle, can you start with that one?
That's not,
I think that was the same thing as
Is this an
the
old?
first one under, yeah.
that's not on my sheet. Old business, discuss EMS timeline. That was moved to discuss Counselor Kitchen's EMS plan of action.
Okay, so that'll be
For
in
that discussion?
eighth order of
I
discussion.
mean, we had discussed putting the
Yep.
EMS timeline on old business, but you're going to discuss it under 8th.
Okay. Thank you.
I was like,
Seventh order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read Item 26-33, order the Fairfield Town Council hereby confirms the town manager's appointments of election and ballot clerks for a term of 2 years beginning May 1st, 2026 and ending April 30th, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Townsend, second by Councilor Lawrence. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous, 5-0. Item 26-34, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby approves the proposed municipal budget to be submitted to the voters of the town of Fairfield for consideration and vote by secret ballot at the June 9th, 2026 election.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lawrence, second by Councilor Townsend.
I thought this was going to be like a line item, at like a town meeting line item, one line at a time, or is it just going to be yes and no?
So you
Each
should
line
have
will
a
have an
copy of what the warrant looks like.
Each article.
You should. Right there? Yep, right there. Okay, so your ballot questions, like what you would have at town meeting, are exactly the same.
Okay.
Right, so the way the warrant's written for town meeting, will the town vote to raise and appropriate X number of dollars for the fire department? It is a yes and no.
Okay.
Okay, but it's the same exact question as what was there before. So,
Why I said this, because I heard different saying, just a ballot saying, do you want to prove it yes or prove it no? Nothing like this.
oh, yeah, no, the
Okay.
questions, it has to be
All right.
it'll still be very specific. So it'll still be broken down by department, just the same as it always been. Same individual questions for each nonprofit organization, same individual questions for revenues, all of that. So, but that's part of your discussion tonight, right? So the council can change it to
Yeah,
whatever
because-
you want to.
Because I thought we were going to marry the school district, like theirs.
Oh, so how they lump it all together?
Okay, they do this at a budget meeting before the June election.
Yeah. No,
And I thought it was going to be like that.
No.
Okay.
I mean, you could do it that way, but I wouldn't recommend it.
We'll still have the public hearing on it.
Right. Yeah, like you could condense the whole thing into one question. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate X
No,
number of
no.
dollars to run the town?
No.
Right? I mean, you
That wouldn't
have
be
that
right.
authority. I would not
you
ever
could.
recommend it, but you could do that.
That won't be right.
So the biggest thing for you this evening is, of course, as always, after your budget committee meetings, if there's ever differences between the two entities, which you have 3 items in which the town council's recommendation differed than the budget committee, you can either, after that conversation, obviously vote to change the way the council's recommendation went. You can vote to keep it at 0. You can vote because the council had it at 0 not to put the question forward. You can vote to put the question forward at the higher amount, which has been our past practice.
So I would like to propose that the council goes with budget committee recommendations, and we had a great meeting with the budget committee, a lot more heads involved. There are only 3 articles where we would change to commit to the same as the budget committee. We'll need a motion, but the first one's going to be spring cleanup. We had originally said 0 to do away with it, which we have a couple years in a row, and they've committed to 10,000 instead of the 20,000 that was originally asked. That will change the format of how we do things, may not have roadside pickup, might have containers like Public Works Director suggested at Public Works, where you have to bring your items there and capped at a certain amount. But that would cap that to a $10,000 limit, which is 10,000 more than council originally suggested. The second item is going to be the Alphon Youth Center. We originally said nothing, and Budget Committee suggests 500, so I'd like to see us do 500 for that. And the third one is the Fairfield Grange. Again, we had gone 0, and the Budget Committee recommended 7,500. I'd like to see us follow suit with that as well.
I think the way that Michelle wrote it, I thought it was perfect. It made perfect sense. It showed what we put. It put the higher value because the budget committee was the higher the higher value than anything that we did. And then we can answer the questions at the public hearing on what the differences were, why we said 0 on some of these, and the meeting with the budget committee and where we stand. I think that's the best way to do it.
That's what this is for, Council Kitchen. It gives, we always meet again afterwards to discuss what the budget committee had recommended, and it gives us the opportunity as a council to change our final recommendations before it goes to the public hearing. So I would really like for us as a council to take the advice we heard from the budget committee and go with what they said, and it will make it a lot easy when we go to secret ballot that we're all in agreement and you won't see 2 different amounts listed on the warrant.
I think, I agree. I just think we should then elaborate on, you touched a little bit on the spring cleanup. We talked about many different things, including drop off at the disposal site in Waterville so our town employees don't have to handle it. We talked about doing away with it, 0 this year, and then bringing it back, doing it every other year. We had a bunch of different, I think, healthy discussions on that, on how best we can do it. So I would agree that the 10,000, like we talked about, and I think we all agreed on that.
So that's something we would discuss
Right.
in the public hearing on how we determine that amount when
Right.
that warrant article comes up for discussion. And we can simply state, originally, council came in at 0, had a healthy discussion during budget committee, and they suggested 10,000, and this is some of the changes that might happen. But again, I'd like to see one of the councils make a motion to change. Council Thibodeau had questions
I do.
before we get there, so.
When we have our annual budget meeting, we will have an opportunity to change the amounts on each article. Not higher, but lower, correct?
Actually, you can, so when you have your public hearing, if you schedule it for April 8th, like we're about to ask you to in the next article,
Yeah.
you will have the opportunity to be able to change those numbers at that public hearing.
I think, I would like us to keep what the council recommended as is for the budget meeting. Number one, it's transparency. It also affords us the opportunity to talk about the reasonings for in front of other people. If we go and change it as the budget committee has said, we are losing that opportunity to validate our thoughts as a council. I would like to keep everything as it is, as it's written in the articles now. So,
Understanding that we have an April 8th timeframe that we're looking at for a hearing, and that would give us time to still get the warrant on, keep the warrant on
Right.
time, then I can feel good about that.
Yeah, I confer. I totally respect that opinion, and we can wait until the 8th. I'm just going to formally say now, I would like to follow my personal opinion, what the budget committee recommended. There's just more heads involved, made more sense. You had to hear more arguments, and I personally will be changing my mind to their recommendations. But
But we
I
will
have no
come back
problem
and talk
waiting,
about the budget
waiting till
meeting
April 8th.
afterwards, and then finalize it then for the voting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I think, I don't
Just
want
like to see it simplified when it goes to secret ballot vote, that we don't have
Right.
3 separate articles that have 2
But I-
different amounts.
But I think it's important for the budget meeting that we keep things as they are so the
Sure.
public can hear our thoughts as well.
Makes perfect sense.
It would be worded on the ballot just exactly as it is now before you.
Right.
If you chose to keep it that way, right? So it's the number.
Yep.
And then it's the only thing that would be is council recommends 0.
Change the difference.
Budget
Yep.
committee recommends this, but you keep putting the higher number
Yep.
forward. So, or you can decide after, so typically the way this works and the way the flow works, you do your public hearing, you allow all the input on the budget, it's done and scheduled so that it gives you the opportunity to make adjustments if you need to based upon the feedback from the public. Then after the public hearing is closed, you'll have an item on your agenda that same meeting for you to finalize setting the warrant. That will be your official setting
Yep.
of no changes. because after that, it has to go to it has to be sent to the printers for the ballot to be done. So your window is a little bit further out than what it is for town meeting. Town meeting, you have a little bit more wiggle room because everything's done in-house and on the floor, but with the ballots and them having to be available and having that deadline being 45 days before the election, you just don't have as much time. But we've put your timetable together for you, so to give you the time you need for that
Great.
flexibility. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Is actually, the public hearing is looking actually the 22nd?
there's an updated schedule to that, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
That was like the final deadline, but the deadline we're looking for is the April 8th.
Okay.
To give you, because if you did it, the budget actually has to be to the printers, I think, by the 17th, so
Okay.
the 26th would have been too late.
Good.
You can still do another public hearing afterwards and discuss the budget, and I would recommend that you still discuss the budget just before town meeting and open it up to questions if people have any. It just won't be subject to change. You won't be able to change the numbers.
So I have another question. When we have the public hearing on April 8th, is it going to be at the beginning of our regular council meeting like it was last year?
Yes.
Then I would recommend that we go article by article to make sure people in the audience have an opportunity to respond, and that they know that that is the time that they are to come up and talk. I thought it was very sketchy last year, and people didn't know the process, and I'd like to not repeat that. So as long as people know that when we have that hearing, we will go article by article to discuss and change if necessary. That's when we're going to do that, so, okay.
Okay.
And we can come up with some parameters for that public hearing for you too, so that the audience also knows what the expectation is. Like, we'll read Article 1, that would be the time for people to get up to speak on
Yep.
Article 1, and then you go on to Article 2. And we can try to make sure we have that information available to people too, to help that move smoother.
That would be nice, thank you.
Awesome. Any other discussion? Okay. Item 26-35, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby sets the date for the annual budget meeting public hearing. You do have an updated timeline schedule, and it looks like April 8th is what the suggested date is.
I'll make a motion that we provide the public hearing to be held on April 8th, 2026, here at Council Chambers at 6:30 PM.
Second.
A motion by Council Thibodeau, second by Council Lawrence.
This one until will the gym be available just in case
Overflow.
overflow?
If we need to, yep.
Okay.
We can do that again. We don't usually need it, but we can. Yeah.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous, 5-0. Item 26-36, order the Fairfield Town Council hereby directs the town manager to negotiate a contract for a space needs assessment and feasibility study, funds to come from building capital reserve account.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Council Lawrence, second by Council Thibodeau. Mr. Kenny. Floor
Good
is
evening,
yours.
everyone. My name is Max Kenny. I am the secretary for the building committee, and the building committee nominated me to come tonight and review our process of the actual review of the proposals, and then provide a overview of why we are recommending the particular firm for moving forward. So first off, last meeting, Councilor Lawrence presented each of you with or at least showed you a copy of our individual scoring rubrics. We had 5 proposals submitted from 5 excellent architecture firms, all within the state of Maine, so we felt very lucky that we had such interest. Each of the committee members, as well as department heads within the town, had the opportunity to review each of the 5 proposals presented to the committee. Each of the reviewers looked at each firm individually and ranked those based upon 5 weighted categories, which are all included on the overall score sheet that you each have in front of you as part of your packet. Those 5 categories were the lead firm and supporting team's qualifications, lead firm and supporting team's experience on similar projects, understanding of the project scope, approach to completing the work, and then other, which included references, commitment to project timeline, cost, things like that. Once each of the reviewers provided their individual scores for each proposal, we tabulated those into the overall sheet that you have in front of you, which ranks each of the 5 firms. We felt that was the most fair approach to reviewing these, was to consistently rank them on a variety of different categories. You'll see that the proposal from Port City Architecture out of Portland was the proposal that ranked the highest out of all the reviewers. We thought that that was the best overall proposal for a number of reasons. We liked their relevant projects that were close by here in Maine, including the Arundel Municipal Building, the Waterville Police Station, the Augusta Police Station, and the Yarmouth Public Safety Building, as well as several others across the state of Maine. We liked that they were a small firm and each of their members specialized in municipal building design and construction. We also liked that they are currently working with the town of Freiburg on a very similar process to what the town of Fairfield is undergoing, looking at combining 3 different departments with 3 individual aging buildings into one larger building. The town of Freiburg is about 2 years ahead of us in this process, so it was exciting to see that we hopefully will gain a lot of insight from their process working with Port City. The town manager, our town manager, called the Arundel town manager for a reference on Port City, and that came with a glowing recommendation. I believe Arundel had said that they have hired Port City directly to do other follow-up projects after their municipal building construction project. The cost presented by Port City was the lowest of the 5 proposals we received, and in some cases substantially lower than other proposals. That did give the committee some concern because we were questioning how this firm thought they could do it for less than half the cost of some of these other firms and less than half the number of hours submitted with these other firms. Ultimately, we felt that it's likely a really benefit that this firm has done very similar projects throughout the state of Maine, and they have a small team. They aren't relying on an expert from a firm in another state. Their experts are in-house here locally in Maine. So we feel that there's some real significant cost savings there. That being said, we expect that if the town council does approve the town manager to move forward in negotiating a contract, that our town manager will question Port City as to why their hours were substantially lower and their costs substantially lower than other firms submitted, and just confirm that they feel that they can actually do the work that we're requesting, because we aren't looking for a reduction in quality because their cost is lower. We're going to be, the building committee will be certainly holding them to a high quality of work, but we just, hopefully that they can do it at that lower price. So that's something that the town manager will discuss with them if the council approves of that negotiation. But ultimately, the building committee thinks Port City will do an excellent job for the town of Fairfield. They have certainly the ability in-house to review our existing buildings and determine their ability to be reused or modified, and then look at conceptual design of a potential new building or several new buildings. So the building committee recommends to the town council that we authorize our town manager to enter into a contract of not to exceed price of $89,543, which includes all tasks included in the RFP. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Max, in looking at the other people that had submitted ideas, I also liked the Port City one the best. For us as a town, not a city, I think they were point on with their presentation of what we were expecting to see. I didn't like how many of the other ones were very wordy, and the wordier they got, the more expensive they were. So I really do like what you have done as a committee. I respect your decision, and thank you so much. That was hard work.
Absolutely. We did feel the same way, that we felt that Port City would provide us the information that we need without a lot of fluff and extra kind of embellishment. So that's what we think also probably led to hopefully a cost savings with that firm.
Yeah, thank you.
So I do have a couple of questions, but my process was, so I went through everybody's ratings and I just looked at what each committee member ranked the first. That way I could start with a base of seeing overall, okay, X amount. And Port City came out number 1 with 21 out. I didn't do the total numbers, highest rating of all. We had another one that was, less than half was our number 2. On the number 1 thing, I honestly gave a little more weight towards the police chief and the fire chief, since that's where they're going to be living. But they came the same with everybody else did. All the numbers matched. Then I looked at the comments, the reviewer comments. I'm assuming you guys did this individually.
We did, so nobody saw each other's comments.
They were, I read them all, and I read the positive comments. All the most positive comments were also in Port City, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Were Port City. 1 was we got another good comment for the number 2 company. The number 2 company had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative responses from the committee, which I weighed heavily. So, and then I went and I just looked at number 1 and number 2. Then I looked at their presentations, and I agree with Stephanie that, if I tried to look at it, I tried to poke holes in the numbers, and everything that you guys did I thought was spot on. I appreciated your how you guys broke up your recommendations on what you thought, what some of the issues were, and some of these kind of weeded themselves out just based off of the numbers that you guys provided individually. Just said, I'm not even going to, honestly, if it was ranked, I didn't even open that book and look at it. I didn't waste my time with it. I primarily stuck with the number 1 and 2 that you guys came up with to make sure that I was on the same sheet of music there, and I came up with the same thing. I think you guys did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not going to add anything to that. I think, yeah, like about the fact that it's actually the lowest cost. I think Max was spot on to make sure we asked those questions why. But I think we have a good product and a good cost, and I think that's we can't ask for any more. So thank you.
So I can't even imagine the amount of work that you guys put into this. This is phenomenal. The rubric alone on how you weighted these scores. For the people at home, I want to read the categories. We had 8 people who scored these buildings, right down to our department heads and manager, and then the committee members. As Councilor Kitchen has stated, the comments are fantastic, but the rating categories were lead firm and supporting team's qualification, and that was done with a 25% weight. Lead firm and supporting team experience in similar projects, again with a 25% weight. Understanding of project scope at a 20% weight. Approach for completing the work, a 15% weight. And then other, also at a 15% rate. 8 people scored each of these categories, and that's how they determined that the first thing that caught my eye was Port City was 50% lower than the second leading, and usually you get what you pay for is my first thought. But again, going by your comments, the extensive work, going through the book to see the projects that they're working on and towns that are more similarly associated with us, spot on. You guys did a fantastic job. So thank you for all that hard work.
Of course. We do. We feel that Port City will do a great job determining what's actually necessary for Fairfield moving forward.
I just want to thank the committee. We did this in 2 weeks, because I had a discussion with the town manager. Do we want to postpone this? Because we had people missing. I said, let's keep on cranking. We can catch up. And we did. And it was 2 weeks of reading this and things like that. And the committee did a fantastic job. Thank you guys, everyone. And
it's fantastic. And all the 5 firms that we got requests from, very detailed and a lot of work. And I'm really thankful that we had to choose from so many different fantastic firms. I mean, we really can't say it enough. They did a lot of work, and we're going to vote to go with one firm. So, but I think our building committee did a fantastic job, and I'd like to go with a recommendation that they have come up with Port City in that amount, so the town manager
Is
can
that,
get
are
moving.
you making the recommend?
Making the recommendation. We have a motion on the floor, but we don't have a recommendation.
We don't have a firm.
We didn't-
But we don't have
We
the
don't
firm.
have the motion
Yeah.
for the firm.
We don't have the motion for the firm, so.
But Peter
make
could
it.
vote to amend his motion for Port City in the amount of 89,
1,543.
yeah.
Peter, would you like to amend your motion to go with Port City in
Yes,
the
I do.
amount
I
of?
want to amend my motion to Port City for that amount. I didn't have an amount.
89,543.
89,543.
543.
And Stephanie, would you second that?
I will second that, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have an amended motion and a second to the amended motion. Any other discussion from council? Again, I just want to thank the building committee. It's fantastic work.
Our next meeting will be after the town manager meets with Port City,
Okay,
and they will be meeting with us for the start. For the start, we're supposed to be May 15th. So
Great.
our meeting will be when the town manager will.
yeah, that expedited timeline you guys did, I can't thank you enough. So again, fantastic job. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It'll be unanimous, 5-0.
I did not bring my.
Okay, eighth order of business, council workshop and other business. Item number 1, discuss Council Kitchen's EMS plan of action. Council Kitchen, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. I had handed out a draft copy to each of the counselors, kind of just for, to take a look at. For the people at home, excuse me, for the people at home, and just a little background on this, we had a meeting in October to discuss EMS, where I was curious about a feasibility study had been done. Come to find out, we had already had what we were calling an audit, and that information was there. So what I did then after that meeting, I started looking at it, and I think for all of us, actually, when we're talking about something that potentially will cost millions and millions of dollars down the road, we want to do what makes the most sense for our community. So a little background on myself, why I think it's important. I have a master's in business administration, so I looked at this as though if we were going to open a new business. And I decided that I was going to make this a capstone project for myself to make sure that the data makes sense for what we're doing. And when we discussed it at other council meetings, I found that the data clearly worked in the favor of us going EMS. But I also must state that through this process, I've looked at all the information that it was given to us publicly, 2 reports and information that Delta gave. And there may be some misinformation in there or some numbers that may not match, and we'll talk about that. But I would also be remiss at this time to say that I am 100% on board with Delta, what they do for our community, what they have done for me personally years ago. And this is nothing to do with displeasure of Delta's services. I think I speak for everybody in our community that they're top notch, and they should be commending on the service that they give. That being said, we as counselors owe it to our residents to be as transparent as we can through this process and do what makes the most sense. Sometimes that's not always fiscal sense, but majority of the time that is. So I started doing some research. How did I do that? Full disclosure, we'll talk about it later. I started with AI. I did an AI search of the internet of EMS, other municipalities, towns across the country that went through this similar process. And what I got was a format, key questions type of thing, but I didn't like their format that they use. So I developed my own format that we have in front of us. In that format, typically I came up with 7 key categories that majority of these towns and cities across the country repeated in their studies, and I have all those on file. I didn't put them as a reference in this document because I didn't use them. I didn't use their data, but I do have all that information printed out. Once I started doing that, I went through and I came up with 7 key categories. Some of it, as we read through it, may seem like it's duplicated information. However, in each one of those categories, I think it's key to answer those questions. In each one of those categories, it starts off with a subject, and then it'll ask a basic question. Then it will be, okay, discussion items, and then an action, discussion, or whatever the case may be, and whoever that may be for. And I went through, as you guys have read, I went through as much as I could think of, even though I knew the answers to probably, I wouldn't say I knew, what I thought I knew the answers to over half that between the town manager, the fire chief, and the council, and the committee working with Benton, that we already knew the answers to. I put it down in this report anyway because I feel it's very important to have our residents see the questions that we are asking. Even though we know the answer, somebody else might have we already know the answer to the question. I think we owe it to our residents to identify those questions that we have asked, to show transparency. This is what we thought. This is what the answer is. Here it is. And if there's data in there, and we can go through, I'll talk about that in a second, but if there's data in there, I found some conflicting data based off of the references that I had. And I used the MSTAT report and the MRI report primarily as reference material. Pretty much what I did is I took those 2 reports, categorized it, what made the most sense. I think it's a very simple document. Once you break it up into each section, the question, it goes on to a subsection, pulling from both of those and reference both of those. The first couple pages of this document, I started annotating in there the actual page number. Obviously, I quit working on it because I didn't want to spend an exorbitant amount of time working on this just for it to go nowhere. But I actually put the page number that I pulled the data from because I had to kind of read between the lines a lot of this stuff to make a very simple document that I think the public could use and look at. Going forward, there are some key things, obviously, that I think that we should discuss. A lot of these answers or questions are already answered. But I think this could be a very easy document to move forward, one for public transparency. We all know that, policy and the budget, that's on us as a council. But I think it's also important for our fire chief, who does a great job, to know kind of exactly what our town is thinking. So they're not spinning their wheels on data that doesn't necessarily, because I was overwhelmed with data when I look at Waterville, Winslow, and all these other towns, and it's like, how can we dumb this down so that it makes the most sense to the most common person can read this and understand what we're doing for EMS. I think I would recommend moving forward with this, if it's something that we want to adopt, the plan of action and milestones. There's different milestones on there that we check off, and we know the police chief and the town manager probably have majority of these marked off already. I had left some things in there highlighted, key budget numbers, 2025 data that we didn't have, things to that. But I think there's information in there that could easily be filled out once we get the data. But I think maybe a special meeting just to discuss this so we can move forward. And then when we get into, in the future, when we talk about old old business or working business, whatever we want to call it. It's just a simple update from the stakeholder, whoever that may be, whether it be us, the council, the town manager, the fire chief, whoever it may be, to say, okay, I've updated a milestone here. Here's what we got. We had another question. Last meeting, for example, we had Peter had a question from a resident that is already in here. We already have that question. I think it would help drastically answer 1,001 questions as we, again, as I looked at it, I'm asking our residents, I look at it as though I was going to write a check for this company that's opening this ambulance. What would I ask my investors, or what would I want my investors to know? That was kind of the mindset I went in with this. Again, to make it as transparent and easy to understand as possible. So that's what we have here. Once we discuss or whatever, I didn't send out electronic copies. I did paper because I felt I don't feel it was ready for public consumption yet until I gave you guys the opportunity. You had it for a couple weeks now, 3 weeks now, to look at it and digest it, get a proper read ahead to discuss it before we make it public, if that's something that we want to move ahead on. If we don't want to move ahead on a plan like this, then there's no reason to stir the public up on something like this. And I'm open to any questions.
Yeah. As I was going through the material, some of it is redundant.
Yes.
And some of it we've already discussed in the past. However, I think eventually we should be putting out some kind of communication, a brochure or something explaining why we're going to this point. And this should be done before we even go to town meeting. I think what you have in here, once we weed through it, will provide us with that information for like a brochure. And that, to me, is what is needed so that people understand why we're doing this. I had someone ask me last night about whether, and she lives in Benton, and she said, am I going to have to pay because Benton comes up with the ambulance? And I said, no, you're already paying. So they don't understand what's going on, a lot of people, and I think that we need to address that so that when people do go to vote on their budgets, they have a clear understanding of why. So you did a lot of work, Kevin. It's the hours that you put in are amazing, and
I appreciate it. And I think if anything, it brings up the conversation that we're taking a hard look at this. And like you just said, I put a complete section in here, and even throughout what other municipalities did, they budgeted $5,000 to $10,000 on average for educating the community. And I did a lot of research. In fact, I went to Oregon, Maine. They have a whole process on how to do that, engage the community on what's going on to help answer those questions, information type of thing.
Yeah. So, and you have a lot of information in here. I don't know if we want to go section by section as a workshop item, but we're getting pretty close to May now. And I would like to do a dedicated evening of just looking at this.
I think that would be my recommendation. I agree with you, would be to do a workshop on it and go through it, because like I said, there's probably a lot of questions that you may have.
I'd like you to meet with the town manager and the fire chief before that, which we were already supposed to have done and hasn't been done.
Oh, it hasn't?
I've had it for a lot longer than 3 weeks, but I don't believe that has been done. A lot of it is redundant. Hard for me because I've been sold on it for a long time, but we have it in our budget that we're going to talk about and get ready to set a warrant for on April 8th. I like the document because it has actual numbers that we didn't have in the past from the 2 documents that you took it from. I like the document because it asks the questions that many of us already know, but like you both have pointed out, just because we know them, we heard them, doesn't mean somebody else has heard it. So I like lots of information in it, for that. I mean, I think of it as a classroom. You got 20 people in a classroom, 16 people know. The other 4 people don't raise their hand to ask the question because they don't want to look stupid. So it doesn't get asked, and it needs to be asked. So I like the document for that information. But at this point, you know, it's more about educating our taxpayer and our voter about the state of where our EMS is. And this is to no fault of our own. We didn't bring this upon ourselves. We have a new article, line item in our budget that was handed to us, mandated by a private entity that now charges a per capita fee. And we have, you know, you're only seeing the Fairfield portion in our budget, but we share an EMS service with Benton, and we've had meetings with Benton to make sure they're on board with us as well. And they also have that same line item in their budget. So as a conservative, a fiscal conservative, I know the total ramifications. It gets our fire department properly staffed according to the audit so that they can do their job with the 2 in, 2 out rule. Staffs us to 4 per shift. We know that the fire department, it is a service they want to provide. They do want to do it. We haven't forced this upon them. We've been very transparent with Travis, and he has talked to his staff and reported back to us that it's also a service they already provide. We just don't transport. If Waterloo and Winslow hadn't pulled out of that private entity a few years ago, we may not be having this discussion today. But as EMS services move forward in the future, this is the way it's moving. We were fortunate enough to receive a very generous donation for equipment. You know, we already have staff that perform this. Our union contract, we already have advanced EMTs. We already have paramedics staffed. So this is a service that we absolutely can already provide. We already do probably 99% of that type of service. We simply don't transport, and because we don't transport, we can't bill insurance companies. So there is an investment in personnel and equipment. We have the capital reserves for that second piece of equipment to make sure we're staffed. We know that we will be able to bill insurance companies. The right questions have been asked. What will I have to pay? You know, what will I have to pay? Well, you are already paying as a taxpayer, so you wouldn't. Your insurance would get billed, and it would be no different than you currently pay through a different provider providing that service. So I think I love the document, don't get me wrong, and I know the hard work you did in it. I just think it convolutes a lot of people as well because they know those answers and they're second guessing maybe those answers to those questions. The number one reason, why are we pushing to move to this transport service? We're moving to push for this transport service due to cost, an added additional cost that we have no control over, and it has increased significantly over the last 3 to 4 years, and it's not going to go away. And that's not to say that our staff will not continue to increase in cost as wages and salaries and benefits go up as well, supplies, but it will minimize it and it will bring it back in-house so that we control it with our neighbors next door in Benton. So if we want to do a workshop, I would like for you to please meet with the manager and chief to.
How long do we wait?
It's got to be done right off because we're going to have our warrant April 8th. We have no time. We've got to get this done.
I don't think this is dependent on the warrant. I don't think that our budget, I look at this separately. This is
more policy?
Yes, and guidelines to help us to update the community as we go. Like, okay, what's going on with EMS right now? What are the milestones? Where are we at?
Okay.
What are the barriers? What are we doing? Here's a boom, boom. We could be done in 2 to 3 minutes every council meeting. Okay, this is where we stand. We're here. We got timelines. I
So
understand
create a working document as we transition into this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A working document. We don't need to tie it. We're not tying our hands. It's not policy. It's a plan to deviate from, but we have a plan because, again, as we look at these 2 reports that they sent us, and I took them very serious because there was a lot of information in there that is like, we're making a decision. I want to make the decision. Obviously, we're working I mean, to us, 75% of this is already done, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah.
75% of this is already done since I started working on it in October, which is a good thing. But as I looked at it, when we're making that decision, it's just as we used to say in the military, or everybody says, dotting the I's and crossing the T's to make sure that we are planning and we're not reacting. Because with something as I hate to use it, life or death that we're setting up for years to come, if it's thought-provoking or something comes up out of this that we didn't think about, that's a win. So this would be a working document, and I think just a workshop, we could take stuff, we could add stuff. Again, I designed it as a thought-provoking, if I'm going to write a check, what am I expecting the barriers or the milestones to be to make sure that our town manager and the fire chief have everything possible to do this for our residents? That was my mindset.
Okay, I'm totally on board with that. I had different thoughts going in that it was, how do we sell this?
No.
Well, we pretty much have already made the decision as
Yeah.
we budgeted for it already. I don't want to confuse people. As a working document, again, I'd like to involve the people that are going to
Exactly.
have to move forward with these issues. So I'm fine having
And I didn't want to,
workshop.
and like I had talked to the town manager and you about,
Yeah.
I don't want to task anybody as a counselor to go and get all this information and sit down and do all this if it's not something that we didn't want to do. If it's something we wanted to do, they already have the information, and then they can give it to us. That was my thought.
No, and you're correct. We have the information. Most of the citizens don't, unless they're
Exactly.
going back into old meetings, pulling reports that they want to see for the, it's like dealing with my kids. I can tell them to them blue in the face. They're not going to listen to me.
If
They
we-
need to see it themselves, they need to live through it themselves. So it's a great idea for a working document, but please meet with Michelle and Travis before we do, and we should get right on it for a workshop session.
But some of that information is already set done with Travis and.
Exactly.
management.
Yes, yes.
You don't want to step on their toes.
Right?
Because they'll report back to us
Right.
on what's happening. Because I trust Travis.
Yeah.
He's had ambulance service already in Clinton when he worked over there. He knows what to do. He's got all the timelines already. He's just got to report back to us.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't want to rush these two people that are town employees, are not our employees. So much more.
So what I don't think it's trying to rush. I think this is a working document.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it answers a lot of the questions. It puts into one place a lot of the answers to the questions that we've had. And whether it's financial or quality assurance and structure.
Right.
And so it's actually putting it in one place. And then I like the fact that it's data-driven. You can see why we were trying to make decisions and what works best and the things the questions that we're having. And then I think it's really helpful as a working document going forward because it talks about quality assurance and talks about how do we maintain reporting to the council of things like quality assurance. And I think that's what's really valuable about this.
Right.
Is it is a working document that will remain viable. So
Right.
I think that's cool. I like it. But a working workshop on it probably would be great. So thank you, Kevin.
Councilor Thibodeau?
In one of the reports that was done, there were recommendations made similar to what you've talked about in your document. And I'm pretty sure that there are already like standard operating procedures outlined, rules and regulations outlined. That's Travis's business.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's important to talk with him so that we can reaffirm what he is doing within this document. We don't want to rewrite the book. That's not our job. But I think it is important to reaffirm what's already been established. And definitely, have in writing. It even talks about here, I'm on page 26 of this report, and it said the mission, values, and come up with a slogan. That's his business, but it'd be nice to have it written
Right.
into a public document for all to see too.
Yeah, and that's why I left a lot of those timelines, and I highlighted some of those of the questions who, because they recommended SOPs. Okay, we know that's a recommended. They have it. This was what 2 years ago, the report was done. That's already done. I've seen some of the reports that they have submitted as they're working through the audit of what they've done to fix the problems. But I think that would be huge in this working document that the public sees as we get into a public hearing to say, here it is. Here's the information. Here's everything that the chief and the town manager and the council has been working on. Here's what we had. Here's what helped us make those decisions. So that I think it's a obvious, easy sell, and we continue to work throughout there's things in there, even after we do start transporting, like Mr. Townsend said, what's the follow-up? What do we expect as a council? What do we expect the future council to do for us as we're home waiting for that ambulance? We're setting that foundation of the policy on who that's going to be. It might be the town manager, and it might just be the fire chief on certain aspects. It might be report back to the future or the current town council on other aspects. But I think this being a working document, we can at least establish that foundation to make sure that we remain proactive throughout this whole process and not reacting to something that's so important to our community.
Yeah, I can agree with all of what you just said. It is data-driven, it is reference-driven, and it took us a long time to actually get that data.
Yeah.
It had been asked for and asked for and asked for and again until it got forced upon us. We really didn't get it, and I don't think we would have got it.
I think we're still missing key data. We're still missing 2025 data. As I went through, I went through the data that is available publicly, and one of the references that I got from Delta, the numbers didn't match. So it's like, what do I believe? What do I don't? So I looked at it from a council standpoint. I have to go with the highest number, or whatever the case may be. So I don't know if any of you saw that, but I saw some pretty decent disparities in the data that I was looking at, trying to verify data.
No, absolutely. So as we move forward and we consider a working document, again, I'd still like you to sit down with the town manager and chief first, and then let's come back next meeting and discuss if we would like to do a workshop, because these questions are going to come up in public hearing on the 8th. And we probably should have at least some basic, it doesn't have to be a full formatted document, but those basic questions. Why are we talking about this? What are you concerned about? I'd like to have them for that meeting on the 8th, because that's, even though it's a working document, not necessarily tied to our current budget, it is.
It's our reference material as we walk out in our communities and people are asking us what's going on with this. We as a community, starting with the fire department, the town manager, the office staff, and the council, we're all kind of looking at the same information for everybody.
Yeah. It's full transparency. Michelle, do you have a problem with Kevin meeting with you and chief?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So within the next week or so, can you try to work with their
swing by
schedules?
and work with
I just want their eyes and ears on it. I know they probably both seen it, but like Council Thibodeau said, it is a bit redundant. We need to clear some of that up. It's long. I mean, it's a fantastic, I know how much work you've done to it, but it needs to condensed a little bit, and it kind of needs to be an open book as a working document, so.
Yeah, I'm a believer in more information subtract than not have enough.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion for Council Kitchen on that? All right, seeing none. Discuss the AI draft policy amendment. Michelle, can you start us out with that?
So this is the same policy you had before,
Yep.
with some updates that was done to it, and also reviewed by the staff with some additional updates that came into it.
The underlying parts were
The underlying parts were the pieces that were added. So if you look to adopt this, it's not subject to public hearing because it's not an ordinance or that kind of stuff, but those pieces were added.
Right, and this basically came from Maine Municipal Association.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's pretty consistent throughout the state at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's one, and again, it is written so that it can be, it's why it's written as a policy and not an ordinance, is to allow it to be flexible so that it can be amended and changed as it adapts with technology and changes. Because, I mean, and you can't turn on the news or open up a paper anywhere right now without seeing some sort of article regarding AI everywhere.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah. So do we need to vote on this?
I think we
So
should.
I think we would like you to. You don't need to do it tonight. I just wanted to make sure everybody was fine with its final piece. Because, I mean, we're still kind of treating it like a ordinance, right? Make sure it has, we go to the discussion phase. If you're fine with how it is now, it's just going to come back to you as an approval item on your next agenda.
Had you made any changes from last month, the last meeting?
Yeah, so the pieces that are underlined.
The pieces that are.
So it's just under the purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
And then some of the approved platforms
Yeah.
may be included but not limited to.
Okay.
So that way it didn't strong arm it, but obviously platforms still have to be approved. That's part of what was in there.
And then security change too. I think it's good. I have no problem.
Yeah,
I
I
have
don't
no
either.
problem.
I have no problem.
Voting on it now.
Let's do that then. Somebody make a motion, please.
Motion to accept the new municipal artificial intelligence use policy.
I second it.
Motion by Councilor Townsend, second by Councilor Kitchen. Any further discussion by the councilors? Looks good. All those in favor? It'll be unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. Other council business, Councilor Thibodeau, we'll start with you.
I have none.
Okay. Councilor Kitchen.
First, I must say congratulations to our Lady Bulldogs, who are state champions. That was pretty good game. And then I'm going to refer to the town manager's report. We had two of our police officers get promoted to sergeant, which is a big deal for those guys. And we have one new business in town, the Bridge to Beauty Hair Salon. I saw the business license issued. And then the only other question I had is, I don't know if I got left out under the fire department. The incident type was not in there.
Yeah, so their new reporting system, so if you remember last month, that grid was missing completely. So the by zone has come in, and that's really easily done. By type now is a much larger category for selection for them, so it didn't fit within the
Parameter.
8 or 9 lines that we had for that. So the chief and I are gonna meet about how we can fix that, and whether we either expand the types or we generalize the types enough that they can take all the very different possibilities to put them into those neat little pockets that we had them in before, that's all. It was, I think, two and a half pages of incident types that I got, and it's just too big to put in this report, so.
I think for me, the key things in there were pretty much the EMS calls.
EMS calls.
Yeah. Because I went in there and I was like, okay, what are we doing? We had 168 calls, as we're talking about EMS, what are the EMS? I do care about the hazmat spills and all the other miscellaneous stuff in there, but I think the key thing is, the big ticket EMS, what are our EMS calls? And even if they just put in there a number, I don't know what the other counselor information you would want, but that's primarily the one I look at every month is what are we doing with EMS?
Okay, good to know.
Especially when they're out 3 days in a row. They go right by my road. Almost like clockwork. You hear the fire truck, you hear more fire trucks, and an ambulance goes off. Happened 3 days in a row. And off right down Center Road and into the North Shore Road.
It is the majority of what they do.
Yep.
EMS and fire. And then sometimes it is just other things, but yeah. Yep. So, but no, that will be coming back to you.
Okay.
We're working through their billing process, their new reporting process.
Cool. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilor Lawrence.
Okay, I want to reiterate what Kevin said about the congratulations to the Lady Bulldogs on the championship. Also, too, March 20th is the Grange will have a senior luncheon from 11 to 1.
The 20th?
The 20th, yes.
20th, yep.
That's it.
Councilor Townsend.
Hey, thank you. So first of all, I want to thank Chairman Martin for actually working on the Fairfield Celebration Committee and putting that together. It was actually really good to work on last night. There was a lot of energy, and I think we can actually make it work. So thank you for starting that, and I think it'll give us a lot of juice going forward, so I appreciate that. Also, I want to thank the building committee for their hard work and getting their tasks done and giving us some great reports and keeping the ball rolling. So thank you on that end. And also, I have to jump on the bandwagon and congratulate our Lady Bulldogs for our state championship. Go Blue. Nice job.
Okay, I'm going to reiterate everything Councilor Townsend just said. I'll throw out congratulations to Maddie Provost on the Girls Player of the Year for the state of Maine. Go Bulldogs. It's spring. We had a wonderful day yesterday. Time change over last weekend. Just remind everybody, be safe, be careful. That sun has moved at different time of day. Might be during your drive home now, so just be careful. We don't need any bad incidents. Kids will be out more on their bikes, people out walking and jogging. Let's be, on the lookout for everybody. And that's all I have for tonight. The next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be on Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, to be held as a hybrid meeting in council chambers and via Zoom at 6:30 p.m. At this time, the council will recess and sign all documents that require the signatures of council members.
Make the motion to recess.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lawrence, second by Councilor Thibodeau. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks for coming.
Michelle?